It's 4 p.m. Stand up. It's count time. It's time for every man and woman to stand up and be counted. I am Brother L.D. Azobra. I'd like to welcome you to another edition of Count Time Podcast. What is this podcast all about? To restore accountability, peace, and reconciliation back to the community by resurrecting those who are civilly dead by awakening the mind. For all too long, this system has taught us what to think. We are here to teach you how to think. My job is to bring clarity and illumination to a confused world. It's the pastors, preachers, priests, teacher job to bring hope and encouragement. And I'd like to thank all of you who joined in last week, many of you who called and text and help us celebrate our 100 podcasts. It was a beautiful day and a beautiful time, and I'd like to thank so many of you all for listening in, comments. Oh, I've got to call a few names. People like Dr. Stephen Stewart, thank you for tuning in and commenting. My friend, former Police Chief Eddie Campos, thank you for tuning in. Sister Barrow Hunter, thank you for commenting. Thank you for going on. Azir Johnson, thank you for commenting. My brother James Pugh, thank you all. So many. I can't catch all of you all because so many of you all joined in last week and was a part of Count Time, and y'all was excited about it. And because of that, we're going to have to revisit a little and keep this thing going because last week we talked about the American System Decoded. Now, it takes a lot to decode this system, and it's going to take quite a while to help decode it. But we need to keep this thing rolling, and what I'm gonna do is kind of regress, bring you back, and then move you back forward, move you again forward, where we can kind of see what happened last week and where we're going this week. Last week we was talking about the American System Decoded, and we're talking about the Company of London, the chartered company, one of the first 13 original colonies that came into the New World, which now is called the United States. It was the Virginia Company of London. As we know, we got the Plymouth Company of London. I think we got the Massachusetts Company of London. You got the 13 different colonies who were actually Company of London. And what we called it last week? The C-O-L. The what? The C-O-L. The Company of London. And what was the Company of London? Now, I can tell you right now, we don't have time to get into all the specific and details, so you always can go and Google it. Thank God for technology. Now you can go Google it and find out about the Company of London. But we're going to bring you a little deeper. Because last week we shared with you that the Company of London was what? The C-O-L. C-O-L stands for Company of London. And what else C-O-L stands for? C-O-L is the acronyms that for the Company of London. But also C-O-L, when you spell it, is C-O-L-O-N-Y, colony. So the colonies in the U.S. the Company of London became the colonies, who also was the colonizers. We do know that, right? And also we talked about last week, like the C-O-L, the college universities. How the word college came about. It's the C-O-L, the Company of London. So we never thought about that before. You can go back and listen to the podcast to get more specific and more details about it. But the big doozy was that the C-O-L also stands for the Company of London. And what it was, the C-O-L-O-R, color people. And that's what they call us, the colored people, or the people of color. We talked about the BIPOCs, talked about what they call the POC people, the BIPOCs people, the TUPOCs people, all these, the BAM people. So you can go back and listen to last week's podcast and learn about all these different terms that we spoke about. But we're going to move you forward this week because we want to share some more information to you about the C-O-L. The what? The C-O-L. Company of London. And most of us do not realize that the Company of London, which was the 13 colonies, came together to form what? In 1777, these 13 colonies, under the sovereignty, formed what we now call the United States of America. Oh, don't get quiet on me now. Don't get quiet on me. So what do you mean by that? The 13 colonies, the 13 companies formed another company. And what we gonna call that? The parent company. Y'all heard that word before, right? A parent company? Oh no, parent is a legal term. I know you're thinking, well, I'm a parent, I got children. I'm a parent to my son and my daughter. Yeah, because you're caught in the legal system. You heard of a parent company, right? A parent corporation. So these corporations formed the parent company called the United States of America. The United States of America, yes, it is a corporation. And I'm not going to keep it long today because I just want to kind of keep it rolling. But before we get started too now, let me say this here. I need for you to take the pill. I got 2 pills for you to take. I got a white pill and I got a black pill. It ain't the blue and red pill. You take the white pill, you go back living your life, being comfortable, in blissful ignorance of illusions. You just go back to where you were. But if you take this black pill, then how Martha said that, we're going to show you how deep this rabbit hole goes and that you're caught into the matrix. But you can break loose from the matrix, but you got to be able to renew the mind. What the Bible says? You shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. So you can be free by renewing the mind. So the U.S. corporation, who is also a person, now what you saying now, LD? Well, a person. A corporation is a person. How is a corporation going to be a person? Just like we say, they taught us in school, in English, what is a noun? N-O-U-N. A person, place, or thing. Now that's interesting. In school, they taught us a noun was a person, place, or thing. So how you put a human being in the same category you put a person, place, or thing? Because when they talk about, in this legal system, when they talk about a noun, they're talking about something that is real because you gave life to it. It became a living being because you can create a corporation or create a company yourself and you breathe life into it. But it's not a human being. But a corporation or person is clothed with the same power, the same rights as a human being. That's why a corporation is more powerful, almost more powerful than a human being is, getting to the point that it will be with the new AI stuff and all these things that's coming out. The corporation is going to rule. The corporation can get its own tax ID number, just like a human being can get its own tax ID number, right? Or we call social security number. So all this stuff here is to keep you in the system. So we want to know that a person is a place or thing. That's what a noun is, a person, place, or thing. That's what they taught us. Or the Bible says, now faith is the substance of things, hope for the evidence of things not seen. The N-O-W noun. So we got to kind of know what all this stuff means. So what is a person? It's a fictitious entity that is used to operate, to assimilate, to transact business on behalf of others, those who control it, the controlling members. Because as you know, we are not a member of the U.S. corporation. That's why every 50 years the Congress got to go back in the Voting Act to re-sign it to make you a voting member of the U.S. corporation. Because when the other COL, the colonies came over, they had already signed a contract for indentured servants, or they put up money, or they signed a deal where they was going to be able to serve this corporation for a specific period of time, 7 years or whatever, and they would get their rights. Because we did not sign papers, they came, got us, and forced us here, and brought us here. Then when they finally, so-called Abraham Lincoln freed us, they let us go. We became contrabands. Now, what you talking about, LD? How we became contrabands? We was considered contraband. What is a contraband? Items that are illegally to trade, produce, or carry, or otherwise to have in one's possession. I hate to say it, we are considered contraband to this day. And that's probably why people treat us, handle us the way they do, because we have no rights. And what Dred Scott decision said, what rights do a so-called black man have that a white man is bound to respect? I don't know. But I'm still moving forward and letting you know that the United States corporation that came into being after the 13 colonies came together to form the U.S. corporation. And this U.S. corporation only has one purpose: to make money, and plenty of it. And where is it housed at? In Washington, D.C., what they call the state capital. The state capital. What is capital? Capital is money, resource. So we got to keep all the capital flowing to D.C. to keep the people in power, to keep them flowing, to keep Europe, Germany, to keep the money flowing over there. Well, how do you know that the U.S. government is housed and their purpose is for that, to make money? Well, that can be easily proved. But first, since it's Black History Month, let me give a shout out to one of our great legends of our time, was Benjamin Banneker. When he laid out D.C., who was laid out by the Masonic people, by the Masons, the Freemasons laid out D.C., 10 square miles. It's a square. When they laid it out and laid the cornerstone, I think Thomas Jefferson, who and many others was involved with laying the first cornerstone in D.C. It's a 10 square miles right next to the Potomac River. And they laid this out and started putting everything in place. That's why everything over there is 33,777. You know, it's going to be 32 degrees. Everything is set up as the Masonic has done most everything, right? But Benjamin Banneker was a surveyor, very, 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 very well educated. Now, they say he was self-educated. And I believe he was a Moor who was very proficient in science, chemistry, mathematics, everything. But he was able to help lay out on the streets and how the area of D.C. should look and how it should flow. So we're going to send out a shout out to our dear brother, Benjamin Banneker, from the late 1800s, who died, I think, in the early 1800s is when he died, maybe like 1806. But he was born like in 1731 or 39, I believe. And he was very, very creative, very productive, and being a part of a lot of creative things. He also created the almanac. Not created it, but he produced the almanac for many years. Now, the strange thing about it, they say the day of his funeral, his house burned down with all his paperwork in it. Now, you know how that goes, right? It never fails, does it? But for our Black History show piece of this, we're going to say, our brother Benjamin Banneker, shout out to you. Now let's keep this thing moving. But LD, how you come about once again saying that The United States is a corporation and housed in D.C. Well, can I show you? Are you ready for this? I don't want to hold you much longer. I just want to give you a few little nuggets every time you chime in. Every time you listen to us, we want to be able to give you something to take back with you. Something that you can use to help or to process, that you can use to do your research. Now, most of the stuff you got to kind of figure it out yourself because the system ain't going to teach you this. But I do know that the United States is a chartered corporation. It was chartered in 1777. Now, everybody most of us know what a charter is, right? Let's take these fraternities and sororities, right? You say, I'm a chartered member. They chartered the Alpha Kappa Alpha this year. They chartered the Omega Psi Phi this year. They chartered the Deltas this year in this time. They chartered the AKA, the Sigma. They chartered, so all these are chartered members. But we are not a chartered member of the U.S. corporation. That's why we didn't have any rights. They say, well, they gave us civil rights. Well, it's a corporation. A corporation have their own rules that governs it. Now, they can amend rules. They can amend the so-called laws that govern the corporation. But if you didn't invest in it, how are you going to be a part of it? But as we learn that this system now is creating what they call a new world order. So we better get ready for all that's about to happen. We better know what's going on. But the beauty of it, though, there's only one order we need to be concerned about, and that's God's order. That's the one going to take us through. That's the one that's the most powerful one that we can be a part of. Because of ourselves, we still just living in this illusion. Now, once again, how did I come up and how can I say that the United States or the Company of London is a corporation, not a country? But it's a country too. I'll break that down for you for another day. Yes, it's a country, but that's a day. That's for another day, another time. Well, should I bring that to you now? Let me think about this. No, I'm going to save that one for another day. But a corporation, let's say Washington, D.C., how do I know that Washington, D.C. housed the corporation? Let me just work my little magic once again. Let me do what I do best. Let me switch all this around for you right quick. And we're going to do it this way. United States, Washington, D.C., we're going to call it the Company of London Business District, washing in tons of taxpayer dollars. Bam! I had to drop the mic on that one. Y'all heard that? The C-O-L. The what? The C-O-L. Washington, D.C. D.C. stands for District of Columbus. Columbus, C-O-L. B. Columbus, C-O-L. Company of London Business District. You see it now? The C-O-L, the District of Columbus. Switch it around, the Company of London Business District. Washington, tons of taxpayer dollars. They got a hell of a system going on up there. How many of y'all seen that one coming? I know you're looking cockeyed right now, right? But I told you, you got to take the white pill or the black pill. Which one were you ready for? I didn't mean to hit you that hard. I just want to awaken the mind. You do your own little work, your little research, But the District of Columbia, that's why they cannot let Washington, D.C. be a state. The people that don't have a governor in Washington, D.C. because it's a business district. It's a business district for the Company of London, which we now call United States of America, United States Corporation. The people don't even have any voting power in Washington, D.C., besides the ones who's at the White House, who's part of Congress. But the people living there do not have any power. Yeah, they got a mayor, but the mayor don't have any power. The mayor is controlled by Congress. They can't make laws unless the Congress agree with it in Washington, because it's not a country. I mean, it's a state or a city. It's a district, business district. You heard it again? Washington, D.C., you switch it around. So say Washington District of Columbus, right? When you switch it around and you say it, Company of London Business District, as I said, washing in tons of taxpayer dollars. The word washing in tons, that's the same as Washington. I want you to know that. So the people in D.C. can't figure out why they don't have no voting power, why they can't get no rights. Because it's where the U.S. government, U.S. corporation set up to operate in. As we know, the sun rises in the east, right? And so also everybody in the so-called U.S. got to look to the east from which coming our help. We got to look to Washington, D.C. to get our help. And that's been a problem, because there ain't no help coming from Washington, D.C. They got to feed all the other people that's on the other side of the water who made these investments hundreds of years ago. And we have to know that. We have to start seeing that and understanding this. What's going on? And remember what I told you? It's the C-O-L. What is it? The C-O-L. Company of London, who created the 13 colonies, who now became the United States of America. And guess what? It just don't stop there. So I want you to keep looking within yourself, keep researching, and let's tie back next week with what we're going to call the American System Decoded. If you want to, let's continue. Hit me up, say, LD, I want to continue this here. I love this information that you're bringing forward. It got me thinking. It got me looking at things a little different. And we want to continue it. Or do you want us to do a class on it? We can do a course on it and take you to the next level, because it never ends. Maybe next week we'll talk about what is a country, what is a county, what is a parish. Maybe those what is a state. Maybe we hit that up next week. Let me know if y'all interested. But once again, we'd like to thank you for being part of Count Time. Or before I go, let me share this once again, because many be asking where I get this information from. Well, the best I can tell you, while sitting in the prison 17 years ago, meditating, the Lord opened my mind. The Lord expanded my mind to where I've no longer seen things the same ever since. So I guess I can say the prison, the Prison, opened up the prism, Prism, of light. And since that day, I've never seen things the same since. And that's why I can say, because one day I was sitting there meditating, and I literally, I'm going to tell you this here, I literally left the compound. I traveled through the universe within my mind with a thought. I went places, did things, and came back. It felt like it was a split. It felt like it was a while, but it was only a split of a second that all this took place in my mind. And I realized then, man can shackle the hand, man can shackle the feet. but only you can shackle the mind. The mind is free to travel wherever you dare to take it. Welcome to Count Time Podcast.